Thank you for listening to my testimony, and thank you so much, Representative McKinty. It was amazing that you got this together so quickly. I'm a family med doctor in South County, and this is my son, Eli. He was born December 15th, 2016, and he was born at 6:26 in the morning. And this baby is the definition of wanted. We had 6 failed inseminations and 3 failed in vitro fertilization cycles before my girlfriend finally conceived. That translates, in case you're wondering, into 9 negative pregnancy tests that were spread out over the course of 2.5 years, which was a heartbreakingly long amount of time. After he was born, this tiny little 7-pound redhead completely redefined my world, and now he's at the center of it. And I then realized that I had suddenly become the mom of a little boy, which was amazing. And before we left the hospital, we were asked to fill out his birth certificate paperwork. And in doing this, I realized that the laws on parenthood have really not kept pace with the laws on marriage. I was and very much felt like this baby's mom, and none of the paperwork acknowledged that I existed, which was frustrating. So the long and the short of it, and I know Representative McKinty has already sort of given you a little background, is that I'm now able to choose whether or not I want to marry my partner, but I'm still not allowed to be named on my son's birth certificate. And what I was told is that this is because, in the hospital, I was told that it was because I wasn't married to my same-sex partner. But there's this form that's called the voluntary affidavit of paternity. And it exists in every single hospital, so that if you come in and you are unmarried to your partner, you and your partner sign the form, and that allows straight unmarried couples to state that they are the parents of the child, just requires a signature, so that the father can have his name on the birth certificate. He doesn't actually have to prove parenthood in any other way. So there's no DNA tests, there's nothing else that has to happen. Just while the two straight people are in the hospital, they have a baby, as long as you both sign and agree this is your baby, your name's then entered on the birth certificate. So if I were a straight man and I had faulty sperm for some reason, and my girlfriend and I had conceived a baby with donor sperm, so we got a sperm bank to give us some sperm, the same way that we conceived Eli, I could have signed the voluntary affidavit of paternity in the hospital, and my son would have me named as a parent. And the only difference between me and that theoretical man is that I am a gay lady and not a straight man. And my partner and I had conceived for years, or tried for years to conceive this kid, and to have one standard applied to straight unmarried couples and another standard applied for parenthood to gay unmarried couples was really deeply upsetting to me. And I can give you some examples here. So I can't really explain how frustrating it is during the 4-week paternity leave I had, and it's called TCI, Temporary Caregivers Insurance, which I'm sure you guys know. During that 4-week bonding time that I was supposed to have with my newborn son, I was literally just emailing representatives and senators and anybody who would listen, instead of spending the time ogling at this little kid who is staring at me. So I wanted to highlight 3 ways that not having my son's name or my name on my son's birth certificate was like extraordinarily frustrating for me and would be frustrating for anybody. So the first was naming. So we had agreed before he was born that Eli would have my last name. But without 2 parents listed on the birth certificate, Rhode Island infants are actually mandated by law to have the mother's last name. And for all intents and purposes, on the birth certificate, it looks like she was a single mother. So Eli had to go home with the wrong last name. And fortunately, we had an amazing doctor, and she was actually able to fix that a couple weeks later. But if she hadn't been that amazing and we hadn't kind of gone through a loophole, we were looking at needing to change the name on his birth certificate, his social security card, his health insurance card, et cetera. And that would have been 100% preventable if the birth certificate had just had my name on it in the hospital. The second very frustrating thing was the whole temporary caregivers insurance process, which is essentially what you would view as paternity leave. So if without one's name on the birth certificate, there's no way to apply for temporary caregivers insurance online. And that's the easiest and the fastest way to apply for TCI. So then I was like, okay, well, I can't apply online. Let's try option 2. So the second option is actually calling TCI, which is also TDI. And I would encourage you to try to call TDI, TCI if you have not tried already. I've literally had no one ever answer the phone, both in my personal and professional life. No one ever answers the phone. And then the third option is that you could email TDI, but their website, if you look on their website, says, and I quote, "We are unable to provide answers to specific questions regarding TCI or TDI claims via email due to the confidential nature of such information. If you have a question regarding your claim, you must speak directly with a staff member by calling our customer service unit," unquote. Which takes me back to option 2, which I just established is not effective. Fortunately for me, I was able to apply for and get TCI by speaking with the director of TDI, whose name I got from Senator Gail Golden, who was the sponsor of the TDI legislation in 2015. However, the average layperson shouldn't be expected to speak with a bill sponsor in order to get that benefit. The third area of frustration is simple custody. So I can and I will adopt Eli. We're in the process of doing that. And I'm aware that a birth certificate doesn't establish a right to parent a child, but it does document that the birth mother has agreed that this is a jointly parented child, not hers alone. Having a birth certificate with my name on it would help protect my relationship with Eli during the time that it takes to proceed with an adoption. Or to put it another way, if something were to happen to my partner before the adoption is finalized, I literally have no documentation proving that our intention was to jointly parent him. The way the paperwork currently looks is that she's just a single parent. That's the way that the birth certificate looks. So I really want this changed. It feels to me like this is the definition of unfair. I am my son's parent. I have been since conception. I was there when we started our 2.5-year IVF journey. I went to every single prenatal appointment. I was present for every single minute of his 29-hour labor and delivery. I spent the last 3 months snuggling, feeding, changing, burping, and loving on him. I am his mom, and I would really appreciate it if you would help make the birth certificate process inclusive for families like mine. And I thank you for listening to my testimony.